Good morning, people. Good afternoon, people. So, yes, we have finished communalism in last class, and there is one doubt with respect to, we were discussing religious fundamentalism, and there I mentioned a statement that the necessary condition for emergence of religious fundamentalism is modernization and secularization. But then it is not a sufficient condition, because the sufficient condition is that there has to be ideological cohesion, and second, there has to be a supply of potential recruits. So there was a confusion that what exactly is this supply of potential recruits. So just for your understanding again, see, supply of potential recruits means there has to be a section of a society which is deprived. Because if a person would be deprived, it would be easier to manipulate them on the grounds of religion. If everybody is economically flourishing, then they don't have any considerations and demand. So it would be very difficult for them or to manipulate or mobilize them on religious grounds. So there has to be a section of society which is relatively deprived so that you can manipulate them on religious grounds. So that is the second thing. And third thing is technology. See, if there is one kind of idea which is emerging at one end, and you have a technology to disseminate that idea, automatically the chances of resentment or movement to flare up is quite fast. So that is what it has been said, that in today's time, technology is also playing a very significant role in development of religious fundamentalism. So these are the 2 points, that is technology leading to dissemination of ideas, and second was the supply of potential recruits. Is this clear? So in last class, we did talk about what is communalism. It's an ideology which believes that the society is divided into different religious communities having different secular interests. Secular means socio-political and economic interest. There are 3 levels at which communalism is manifested. One is mild, moderate, and extreme. Then we have talked about the types of communalism. There are 6 types of communalism: assimilationist, welfarist, retreatist, retaliatory, separatist, and cessationist. And we have talked about that per se, no concept is a threat to national integration. It depends upon the underlying reason and the way it is being manifested. So first 3 types of communalism is not a threat, but last 3 types of communalism is definitely a threat. Then we did discuss about the Hindu-Sikh and the Hindu-Muslim relations. And we have spoken about how communalism has evolved in context of Indian society. And I gave you a question, what are the socio-economic reasons for the evolution of communalism in India? Then we have spoken about religious fundamentalism, and then we discussed that how these communalism or communal violence incidences can be checked. So you have certain short-term and long-term suggestions for it. Okay? Now just one thing, tell me, did I give you that diagram that India has preached a socialistic pattern of development but has practiced capitalistic pattern? I've not made that diagram for you. See, this is one diagram which you would apply in all the topics, and this is the main reason why India is facing so much of crisis. Let's just see. We have made this diagram? नहीं ना? क्लासरूम सेम हो जाता है, मुझे डेजा वू फीलिंग आने लगती है आधे से ज़्यादा टाइम कि ये मैं पढ़ा चुकी हूँ. See, this is the basic problem as far as the Indian society is concerned. What you have preached was a socialistic pattern of development, that everybody would be given the equal share of benefit in the process of development. But what you had practiced was a capitalistic pattern. As a result, twofold development has happened. One, the development was not enough to drive away the problems of unemployment and poverty in its entirety. As a result, certain section has developed, whereas majority of the section were deprived of all kind of benefits. So there was breeding frustration, there was development of hostile attitude. And at the same time, the development model was such that instead of bridging the inequalities which was existing among the people, it has further aggravated the inequalities, and it has led to the polarization of society in two forms: haves and have-nots. This have and have-nots you can consider in any dimension. You want to consider in gender perspective, caste perspective, religion perspective, class perspective. It totally depends upon you. It has classified society into haves and have-nots. With haves, the problem is, if the government tries to serve the interest of minority, it is often seen as a sign of appeasement. And if the government doesn't do anything for minorities, then minorities have the perception that they have been marginalized or cornered. So government kare kya? So the problem is the level of diversity that is existing, the level of inequality that is existing, and the kind of model that we have followed has created the situation of crisis. And whenever there is an economic crisis, see, if you remember, I did discuss about that model: culture, livelihood, and there has to be a third party to manipulate. But see, the party can manipulate you only when there is an objective condition. And what is that objective condition? Economic disparity. Only when there is economic disparity in the society, you would be able to manipulate people on the grounds of caste, religion, gender, or ethnicity. Is this clear? So the source, the root cause of all the problems of Indian society is economic inequality and disparity. Some is due to the problem of the individual and the community, and some has been manufactured by the state. Is that very clear? So that has created the situation for communalism and regionalism in India. Casteism also. If everybody would be equally economically flourishing, these things will never arise in context of India. Is this clear? Okay? Entirety, completely. Unemployment and poverty in its entirety breeds frustration and hostile attitude. There I have written, development model has further aggravated the inequality existing between the people, haves and have-nots. Any effort to serve the interest of minority is seen as a sign of appeasement, and if government does not make efforts, it leads to the development of perception that minorities are cornered or marginalized. Is this clear? Have you heard of this person, Mark Tuley? Senior journalist, BBC, yes. So Mark Tuley has been interviewed of late, very recently. So he made a statement that it's high time that Congress needs to revive itself. And to which he gave the suggestion that Congress needs to have its own religion, because secularism is a farce in Indian society. No political party can claim that they are secular. What do you mean by secular? There are so many religions in India. Every individual is governed by their religion, their eating habits, their dressing style, their interaction, their marriage, their contact, everything is governed by religion. There was a time when Gandhiji said that politics and religion cannot be separated. Don't create that situation. So that is what is happening. So Mark Tuley basically made an appeal to Congress that if you want yourself to revive, please find a religion for yourself. You can be a multi-religious party, no issues with that. Become a multi-religious party, but never say that you are secular. Because in that case, people start believing you are anti-religion. Because secular is not seen in the light of equal respect for all religion, it is seen in the light of anti-religion. This person doesn't believe in God. So that is what secular is being perceived as. So it has been requested that if really Congress wants to come to power, or at least not power, constructive opposition, they have to look for their own religion. it can be a multi-religious party. So that is what it is happening. Don't create, Hanji.
Now, in this present context of global LPG, isn't this concept inevitable? I mean, this is somewhere every country which had some fundamental ideas of development has now moved on to capitalistic pattern because the globe is demanding this.
See, read again. I never said that capitalism is a problem. Capitalism is not a problem. The problem with our society is we preach something else and we practice something else. You have preached unity in diversity. You have preached that diversity should be accommodated and respected. You never talked about assimilation. Our leadership has always talked about integration. That is salad bowl theory and not melting pot. But in actuality, what we are practicing is melting pot and not salad bowl. Problem is never what kind of ideology you are practicing. The problem is when there is a discrepancy between what you are preaching and what you are practicing. In the name of secularism, there is religious revivalism which is happening. That is wrong. In the name of democracy, any kind of dissent is termed as intolerant. That is discrepancy. For example, there is a very famous saying, dissent is the highest form of patriotism. And in our society, any kind of dissent is intolerated. So that is the difference. That what you are preaching, you are not practicing. So the problem is not with capitalism. Capitalism is bound to happen. It is bound to happen. The society is evolving. Society is progressing. But the problem is, as again I'll repeat something, Amartya Sen had always said that he has always supported mixed economy pattern of India. But what he didn't like was, जहाँ पे इंडिया को प्राइवेट होना चाहिए था, वहाँ इंडिया पब्लिक हो गया, और जहाँ पब्लिक होना चाहिए था, वहाँ प्राइवेट हो गया. जैसे हेल्थ एंड एजुकेशन सेक्टर शुड हैव बीन टेकन इन द हैंड्स ऑफ द गवर्नमेंट, वो तो उन्होंने बहुत कन्वीनियंटली प्राइवेटाइज करवा दिए, ठीक है. और जो इंडस्ट्री जहां पे उन्हें प्राइवेटाइजेशन को प्रमोट करना चाहिए था, वहां वो उसका पूरा ठीकड़ा अपने सर लेकर बैठे रहे. द पब्लिक सर्विस एंटरप्राइजेस व्हिच हैज लेड टू द सिक इकोनॉमी व्हिच हैज बीन क्रिएटेड इन इंडिया प्रायर टू 1991. सो द प्रॉब्लम इज नॉट विद द मॉडल, द प्रॉब्लम इज हाउ यू आर इंप्लीमेंटिंग द मॉडल. मिक्स्ड इकोनॉमी was the best model as far as the nuances of India were concerned, but the problem was where you were supposed to be public, you were private, and where you should have been private, you were public. So the problem is not capitalism. Problem is, why did you preach socialism in the first go? You shouldn't have said that. Why did you have taken the baton of welfare government when you could not have afford that? So the problem is, what you preach, please practice that. Otherwise, don't make false promises. Because then what happens? There is a feeling of deprivation. जब आपको expectations ही नहीं होंगी, तो आप कभी deprived feel ही नहीं करोगे. When you have certain level of expectation, then you start feeling deprived. Why Muslims are feeling deprived? Because they believe they are the citizens of India and Indian government is responsible for their welfare, which Indian government has failed to ensure, and which is very well mentioned in Sachar committee report also and Ranganath Mishra committee report also. So now the point is that we have failed to create equal distribution of the benefits, and it has led to polarization of society. This is the diagram for polarization. All the benefits are reaped by the elite class, whereas the major mass of the society is deprived. This is not what we have visioned in our preamble. Equality, justice, liberty. Polarized society is not an example of equality, justice, and liberty. So this we have failed to deliver. That is why there is a crisis situation today. Is that very clear? Can we move ahead? ठीक है? चलो. Next topic is regionalism or religious diversity. We have made the diagram yesterday, right? See, let's start. You have the diagram, right? Now, to begin with the topic of regionalism, it is very important. I am telling you a way how concepts need to be cleared. To begin with, let's start with the concept of region. What is a region? Geographical boundary geographical boundary comprising of a group of people. Anything else? Yes, which are culturally and territorially distinct. See, one thing that you need to take care is that every region is a homogeneous entity. Suppose there are two regions. They both are homogeneous in their respective capacity. Why? Because they are physically and culturally distinct from others. Okay? Now, based on that distinctiveness, every person in a particular region has an amount of consciousness. They have the consciousness of the fact that they are similar to each other, but at the same time, they are different from others. So there is a consciousness. So based on the fact that this region is homogeneous, which is physically and culturally distinct from other, the person has a conscience, or you can say consciousness of the fact that they are similar, but at the same time they are different from others. Whenever you have a consciousness about certain thing, based on that you develop a identity. Obviously, the people have same regional identity, and when you develop a regional identity, then you start professing your political loyalties more towards this region as against the nation. And this concept is known as regionalism. So, when a person resides in a particular region, based on the similarity, they develop a consciousness. Based on that consciousness, they develop an identity. And based on that identity, they start professing their loyalties more towards this region as against the nation. And this concept is known as regionalism. Is this clear? So the first thing, right? The phenomena in which people start professing their political loyalties, phenomena in which people start professing their political loyalties more towards a region, in preference to the nation, it is referred as regionalism. It is referred as regionalism. Next, right? Regionalism is bound to happen in India. Regionalism is bound to happen in India as it is rooted in India's diversity. Regionalism is bound to happen in India as it is rooted in India's diversity with respect to caste, ethnicity, language, etc. When all these factors gets geographically concentrated, along with the feeling of relative deprivation, it is referred as regionalism. Along with the feeling of relative deprivation, it is referred as regionalism. So the question is never whether regionalism is happening or not, because regionalism is bound to happen. Why? Because India is a diverse country, and when all this diversity gets geographically concentrated along with a feeling of relative deprivation, then you start professing your loyalties more towards a particular region, and that concept is known as regionalism. So again, the question boils down to same fact. Is regionalism a threat to national integration? So again, like communalism, even regionalism, the politics of regionalism has two connotations. One is positive and one is negative. Now, see, we have already spoken about the fact that India is a diverse country, but at the same time, we try to promote integration in India. That is salad bowl theory. So now, if a particular community or a region, in a bid to concretize their identity, that is, suppose karo Gorkha land demand. Now Gorkhas want to assert their identity. Exact. So the point here is, if in a bid to concretize your identity, to preserve your culture, or for administrative convenience or better socio-economic development, if you demand autonomy or you resort to regionalism, it is not a threat to national integration. If you believe that this is a large state which the government is failing to administer, so for better administration, for better socio-economic development, if you start demanding a separate state or more autonomy, it is not a threat to national integration. For example, demand for Uttarakhand. Because hill state and plain state has to be governed differently. So there was a demand for Uttarakhand, demand for Telangana. It was for socio-economic development. Similarly, the hill states among Assam. Assam was the greater Assam, which later got bifurcated into several tribal states, hill states. So the demand was for better administration, for socio-economic development, and at the same time to concretize your identity, which was believed to be lost in the large state. So in that case, regionalism is not a threat to national integration. But if you resort to violence, if you practice son of soil policy, or you start demanding secession from the nation, then it is hampering the territorial integrity and peace and prosperity of the nation. That kind of regionalism is threat to national integration. So prima facie, regionalism is not a threat. It depends upon the underlying reason and the manner it is being manifested. समझ आया? Concept remains the same. You just need to change the terminology. हर चीज याद करने की जरूरत नहीं होती है. Suppose करो कुछ current affairs आ गया, ILP demand in मणिपुर, याद ही नहीं आ रहा क्या हो गया ILP डिमांड पे. होता है बहुत बार. अभी क्या होता है, इंडिविजुअल सब्जेक्ट्स पढ़ते हो, सब कुछ याद रहता है. मेंस में इतना कुछ होता है कि नहीं याद रहता. तो rather than focusing much on facts, ओवरऑल कॉन्सेप्ट को याद करने की कोशिश करो, उसी में फिट कर देना. क्लियर है? ठीक है. तो लेट्स जस्ट राइट समथिंग, जस्ट लिखो. द पॉलिटिक्स ऑफ रीजनलिज्म, द पॉलिटिक्स ऑफ रीजनलिज्म has two connotation. The politics of regionalism has two connotation, positive and negative. Positive and negative. For example, any desire to concretize your identity, any desire to concretize your identity, comma, for better administrative governance, for better administrative governance, or to protect the socio-economic interest, or to protect the socio-economic interest, the demand for more autonomy, or resorting to regionalism, is not a threat to national integration, is not a threat. Resorting to regionalism is not a threat to national integration. However, Resorting to violence, however, resorting to violence, comma, practicing son of soil policy, practicing son of soil policy, practicing son of soil policy, son of soil, son of soil, धरती पुत्र, son of soil policy. महाराष्ट्र में होता है ना, एमएनएस तो इसी के भरोसे चल रही है. तो सी, whenever there is a religious political party or a regional political party or a caste-based political party, they don't have any agenda for national development. They have to resort to such kind of politics. Otherwise, it would be very difficult for them to survive. Yesterday, we did talk about Akali Dal. It was a religion-based party. It has no other choice. वो क्या national development agenda देगा? The agenda is based on Sikhism. The agenda is based only for Sikh. So that is why it is a religious party. Similarly, BSP, it was based on caste. Similarly, MNS, it is based on regional aspirations and interest. That is nothing but son of soil policy. So what we wrote, however, resorting to violence, practicing son of soil policy, or demanding secession, to secede from the nation, demanding secession, hampers the territorial integrity, and peace and prosperity of the nation. Peace and prosperity of the nation. Peace and prosperity of the nation. It is referred as negative, or it is referred as a threat to national integration. It is referred as threat to national integration. Clear hai? ठीक है? Now see, one thing is for sure, that regionalism is the most potent force in the Indian politics, especially in the post-independence period. There has been certain landmark movements which have led to the emergence of regionalism. So just give the next heading, landmark movement, landmarks which have led to the emergence of regionalism. See, these are the four forces which has led to the emergence of regionalism in India. The first is establishment of democratic form of government. Now see, with this what I mean is that similarly, you are creating a kind of a demand in the society. For example, you have talked about creating a democratic form of government and which is governed by justice, liberty and equality. Now every section of the society wants that kind of share in the development process, and anything short of expectation has resulted into resentment. Is that clear? So the first thing which has led to the development of regionalism is establishment of democratic form of government, because it was based on the objective that your aim is nation building, which is governed by the political culture of unity, justice, liberty and equality. And anything short of expectation would be met with resentment. Is this clear? ठीक है? So the first force, which suppose there is a question, what critically examine the factors which has led to emergence of regionalism in context of Indian society. Make sense? Write down the question. रफ में लिखो फिर हम ये पढ़ते हैं. Just write down a question. Critically examine the forces which has led to critically examine the forces which has led to the emergence of regionalism in context of Indian society. In context of Indian society. Make sense? So the first point is establishment of democratic form of government. Just write. It was based on the objective of, it was based on the objective of nation building. It was based on the objective of nation building, based on the principles of unity, justice, equality and liberty. Unity, justice, equality and liberty. Each part wanted a fair share of deal. Each part wanted a fair share in the process of development. In the process of development. And anything short of expectation, and anything short of expectation has led to disenchantment. And anything short of expectation has led to disenchantment. Has led to disenchantment. Clear hai? Chalo. The next is integration of princely states. See, this is one topic which we will discuss in detail in post-independence India as a part of Nehruvian period. But for as of now, what you need to understand is integration of princely state, how it has led to regionalism. So now what happened was, there were how many princely states? Any idea? 565 to be. वैसे तो exact numbers is not known, but 565 is something which we generally talk about. Now see, what happened was, these princely states were integrated to form a large state. ठीक है? They were basically merged into a large state. But what happened? People continued to profess their loyalties towards the particular princely state to which they originally belonged. And that has also led to the development of regionalism. Matlab, this is an example of sub-regionalism. That you are a part of a larger state, but you are professing your loyalties not to the state, but to a princely state which has been the part of that larger state. And which was very evident with the fact that whenever the princes used to fight the election from their old territorial constituency, the chances of winning the elections was very high. That means people still are professing their loyalties towards the old territorial unit as compared to the new territorial unit. So that has also led to the development of regionalism. So right, integration of princely states, right? Small states were integrated. Small states were integrated to form a large state. Small states were integrated to form a large state. However, people continued to nurse their loyalties. However, people continued to nurse their loyalties to the old territorial units. People continued to nurse their loyalties to the old territorial units. Clear hai? Okay. Next is linguistic reorganization of state. Now see, we have discussed about linguistic reorganization, But one thing, if you remember, I said when State Reorganization Commission was formed, there were certain states and union territories which were created. Okay? But do you think that language as a basis of demand for a separate state came to an end with 1967? For time being, it was being said, a very famous political scientist, again I'm using his name, Rajni Kothari. Rajni Kothari again said that linguistic reorganization was very functional. Why it was functional was the most potent force for any kind of disruptive forces or disintegration during that time used to be language. So with linguistic reorganization of the state, at least for time being, they were able to address the problem. But the problem here is India is humongously diverse. So with creating 14 states, you have not solved the problem, because in every state you would find multiple languages, and creating a separate state for every language is not possible. So in every state there were certain languages which were minority languages, and that is why the few incidences of linguistic chauvinism we often see nowadays. There are a lot of demands which come. For example, Mithilapur, Maithili language say they want to create. Then for Bhojpuri language, they are demanding a separate state. So now the demand is not for language. Now the demand is more for the dialects. अब dialects पे भी demand आ रही है, because they believe that their identity has been crushed. So this is how it is working. So the problem here is we are so diverse that accommodating the interest and the identity of every section is just not possible. So whenever that group or community gets a leadership or a support, there is a demand. Is that very clear? So you can say linguistic reorganization of states has created grounds for further regionalism in India. Has created grounds for further regionalism in India. Just write down the reason. Since language is not synonymous with a region, since language is not synonymous with the region, otherwise the political aspirations of linguistic groups, would have got satisfied with the reorganization of states. Would have got satisfied with the reorganization of states. Make sense? Okay. Last likho, selfish motives of the politicians. Selfish motives of politicians. Just write. Politicians, due to their vested interest, try to exploit the narrow sectarian sentiments, of ignorant masses. Try to exploit narrow sectarian sentiments of ignorant masses. Is this clear? So based on this, one thing is obvious, there has to be economic disparity, that is the objective reality, and second, you have to have certain vested interest politicians to fan the sentiments on the basis of that economic disparity. In both these situations, the probability of regionalism significantly increases. Is that how?
In the case of economic disparity, can we quote the role of planning commission from the 1915 postulates, which was based on the top-down approach, thus the regional aspirations were ignored from the very initial period of the
With respect to planning commission, there is altogether a different perspective to that. One of the perspectives says that at the time of independence, the leadership was very well aware of the fact that colonial rule has created a lot of regional disparity. And in order to bridge the gap, they have come up with this ideology of planning. That planning would be done so that the benefits or the grants can be provided for the development of the backward region. So the central government never faltered. The problem with central government was it had followed that top-down approach where a framework used to be created, but the implementation was in the hands of the state government, and it is the state government which has failed to deliver. Land reforms were introduced. Who failed to implement land reforms? State government. Okay? The enterprises, industries were set up in the backward region. Who failed to reap the benefits? State government. Backward region grant fund was created by the central government. Who failed to properly appropriate those funds? It's the state government. That is what the problem is. So we cannot say planning commission for very significant period of time has contributed, in fact, to bridge the disparity. Problem was at the level of implementation. क्लियर है? इसीलिए हम वो पंचायती राज लेकर आए थे 73rd 74th अमेंडमेंट एक्ट, लेकिन उसमें भी हमने 3F की बात करी थी, फंड्स, फंक्शन एंड फंक्शनरीज, तीनों में हम फेल कर गए. सो द प्रॉब्लम वो नहीं है, पॉलिसीज हमारे पास हैं, इंस्टीट्यूशंस एंड कमीशंस भी हैं, बट एट द टाइम ऑफ इंप्लीमेंटेशन वी फेल टू डिलीवर. Is that clear? That is why some states have functioned very nicely. I'll just give you one example to answer his question. Land reforms introduced करे गए थे सबके लिए. Abolition of zamindari, tenancy reform और land ceiling. There is only one state which has delivered the result to 100%, and that was Jammu and Kashmir. Because during that time there was a person, a leader, Sheikh Abdullah. So now the problem was, Bichara Sheikh Abdullah, in the term of socialism, was actually implementing the land reforms. But yesterday only we studied who were the zamindar class? Hindus. And who were the landless and the peasant? Muslims. So instead of viewing this as a sign of a socialist measure, the Hindus of Jammu termed it that Sheikh Abdullah is implementing these provisions to dilute the interest of Hindus. So instead of taking it as a socialist measure, it became Jammu versus Kashmir, Hindu versus Muslim. ये प्रॉब्लम है हमारे देश में कि एक बेचारे ने ढंग से इंप्लीमेंट किया तो उसको पूरा कम्युनल इशू बना दिया गया. उसी के बाद तो जनसंघ वगैरह आई थी. श्यामा प्रसाद मुखर्जी हैज टेकन दिस जम्मू एंड कश्मीर डिबेट विद रिस्पेक्ट टू लैंड रिफॉर्म्स ऑन अ पैन इंडियन बेसिस. हम इसको डिस्कस में डिटेल में बाद में करेंगे पोस्ट इंडिपेंडेंस में. बट द फैक्ट व्हाट आई एम ट्राइंग टू से इज दैट सरकार ने सबके लिए सेम प्रोविजंस बनाए थे. कुछ स्टेट ने अच्छे से इंप्लीमेंट करे और कुछ ने नहीं करे. जैसे केरला, वेस्ट बंगाल, वहां पे लैंड रिफॉर्म्स फिर भी सक्सेसफुल थे, लेकिन यूपी बिहार मतलब क्या ही बात करें. तो द पॉइंट हियर इज कि दिस इज हाउ इट हैपेंस. ठीक है, चलो. बाय द वे मैं खुद यूपी से हूं, तो ऐसे मत समझना कि मैं रीजनलिज्म प्रमोट कर रही हूं. मैं यहां पे फैक्ट पे बात कर रही हूं. देयर आर सर्टन स्टेट्स हु हैव परफॉर्म्ड वेल एंड देयर आर सर्टन स्टेट्स हु हैव नॉट एट ऑल परफॉर्म्ड वेल. ठीक है. सो विद दिस द नेक्स्ट टॉपिक इज बेसिस ऑफ रीजनलिज्म. बेसिस ऑफ रीजनलिज्म. Basis of regionalism. The first is historical basis. These are the 5 bases for regionalism: historical basis, socio-cultural base, geographical base, economic base, and politico-administrative base. Within socio-cultural, language, caste, and religion. This was the question which was asked last year. Direct question आता है, what are the bases of regionalism, and do you think that lack of equal distribution of economic benefit is the most important basis of regionalism? That's it. ठीक है. Let's start. Historical basis of regionalism. Just write one thing and then we'll discuss. Just write. Okay. It supports regionalism. It supports regionalism. Historical में. It supports regionalism. With cultural heritage, it supports regionalism. With cultural heritage, folklore, कहानियां नहीं होती हैं, folklore, myth, etc. It supports regionalism with cultural heritage, folklore, myth, etc. Let's talk, or let's take one example. The example can be Dravida Nadu, the demand for Dravida Nadu or Dravidistan. The demand for this demand was existing even prior to independence. There was a person known as Periyar. Self-respect movement was carried out. Slowly and gradually, that movement, which initially started as an anti-Brahmin movement, was turned into a regional demand where they started demanding a separate nation altogether consisting of 4 South Indian states: Andhra, Tamil Nadu, Kerala and Karnataka. They basically wanted to create a separate Dravidistan. But the basis of this demand was not on the basis of the caste system. It was based on historical anthropology, where they said that prior coming up of the Aryans, or prior the Aryan have invaded India, the original inhabitants were the Dravidians, and the polity which existed that time did not have any kind of stratification. There was one God, one belief, one humanity. But it was only after the emergence of Aryan invaders, there was a Brahmin tyranny which was created in the society and which has been very detrimental to the interest of these original Dravidians. So it was based on a folklore. It was based on history, that originally the Dravidians were the inhabitants and the society used to be an equal society without any kind of stratification. Is this very clear? However, later the demand kind of died down, and the reason behind the demand kind of died down was there was a fear that they are trying to promote Tamil nationalism. So other South Indian states were not in the favor of Dravidistan because they had a fear that if a separate Dravida Nadu is created or a Dravidistan is created, it would be the Tamil culture which would be imposed on them. So due to this, the demand has died down. Is this very clear? Okay? Chalo. Just for a passing reference, just write. For example, concept of Dravida Nadu has its root in anti-Brahmanism, has its root in anti-Brahmanism. It demanded greater power. It demanded greater power, equality, and have supported their demand by the theory that Dravidian speaking area once had a non-Brahmanical polity, which was later destroyed by Aryan conquest, Clear hai? Later destroyed by Aryan conquest. Next is socio-cultural. See, all these 3 things we have already discussed. You just need to focus upon how you can structure your content. The next and the most important basis of regionalism is socio-cultural base, and one of the aspect is language, which is clearly visible in linguistic reorganization of state. Second was caste. We have just now talked about anti-Brahmin movement against the caste hegemony of the Brahmins. And third is religion, which we did yesterday, the demand for Punjabi state. But one thing you need to take care is language solely can be the force for demand of a separate state. But caste and religion cannot be an individual source for a demand, because casteism and communalism is not permitted by our constitution. So both these demand often is presented in the garb of language or economic development. Is this very clear? So one thing you have to always take care in mind is caste and religion individually can never be the source of demand for a separate state. It always has to be presented in the garb of something else, which can be language or economic development. For example, demand for Punjabi state. It was presented in the garb of language. Similarly, the demand for separate Dravida Nadu. It was presented in the garb of historical developments, but it will never be presented as a anti-caste or anti-religion demand. Is this clear? Okay? Just passing reference, just right. Caste and religion also have acted as a source for caste and religion also have acted as a source for demand of a separate state. However, it has always been presented in the linguistic garb. It has always been presented in the linguistic garb so as to have more acceptance. So as to have more acceptance. So as to have more acceptance. Clear है? Next लिखो economic basis. Economic basis. Economic basis. Just write. It's the crux of regional politics. It's the crux of regional politics. Which is based on limited resources and disproportionate demand. It is the crux of regional politics, which is based on limited resources and disproportionate demand, which is further aggravated due to various economic policies of the government, which is further aggravated due to various economic policies of the government, which has further led to regional imbalances, and economic disparities, which has further led to regional imbalances and economic disparities. We have multiple examples for this. The demand for Telangana, that's one of the basic demand, of late demand for Telangana. Most of the demands of northeastern states have also been due to underdevelopment of northeastern states. So again, you can write the demand of autonomy, separatism, etc. in northeastern states. See, I'll just give you one example. Let's talk about, there was a time in Assam when there was a major crisis. That was a period 79 to 85. And there were multiple reasons for the crisis situation in Assam. One of the reasons was economic underdevelopment. It was believed that the central government has not given them the fair share of deal in the entire developmental process, and as a result, that area has been underdeveloped. But that was only one point. The second point was, after 1971, Bangladesh Liberation War, there was illegal migration which was happening, and because of that illegal migration, just try to imagine, this is the land you have, okay? But the population pressure on the land is increasing, and that is not happening because of the natives, it is happening more because of the illegal migration. As a result, those people are creating pressure on the existing resources, because of which there is fragmentation which is happening, because of which land alienation is happening, and at the same time, whatever job opportunities are created, the competition with respect to those jobs are also increasing. So the entire process is economically driven. And one aspect more you can add is, see, with respect to northeastern states, in entire India, you have many tribal population, and the tribal population are geographically very distinct from others. Northeastern tribes, the problem is completely different from the tribal problem of the central belt. And one of the chief reason for the difference in the problem is, in northeastern states, the tribal are in majority in their area. That's the chief difference. In central belt, for example, Jharkhand and everywhere, if I talk about, tribals are not in majority. But if you talk about northeastern states, the tribes are in majority in their own area. So when this illegal migration happens, when land alienation happens, automatically these tribes have been reduced to minority in their area. So again, the two concept comes, whenever your culture and your livelihood gets impacted, and there is a third force to fan the sentiments, ULFA, Mizo National Front, है ना, नागालैंड के लिए there is a national, so NSCN is there, ठीक है. So basically the point here is, there has to be a third force to fan the sentiments. और घूम फिर के कहानी सिर्फ दो ही बातों पर आती है, कल्चर और लाइवलीहुड. अब इसी को लिंक कर दो ILP इशू ऑफ मणिपुर. डिटेल में पढ़ोगे सिक्योरिटी क्लासेस में, बट नहीं पता है, सपोज करो, खुद सोचो ILP क्या है. ILP मतलब घुसने से पहले आपको सरकार की परमिशन चाहिए, ठीक है. देयर इज ओनली 3 स्टेट्स जहां पे ILP अभी दिया जाता है. कहां दिया जाता है? अरुणाचल, मीना को कभी मत भूलना, मिजोरम, नागालैंड एंड अरुणाचल, दीज आर द 3 स्टेट्स जहां पर आपको ILP प्रोविजंस हैं. और डिमांड कहां आ रही है? मणिपुर में आ रही है. क्यों आ रही है? वही, कुछ भी नहीं पता है तो भी वही लिखो कि लोग आ रहे हैं, माइग्रेशन हो रहा है. इलीगल माइग्रेशन होने की वजह से रिसोर्स पे प्रेशर बढ़ रहा है. द ट्राइब्स आर रिड्यूसिंग टू माइनॉरिटी इन देयर ओन रीजन. द कॉम्पिटिशन फॉर द जॉब्स इज increasing, land alienation is happening. Most importantly, these illegal migrants are now also seeking the right to vote, which is also hampering the political dynamics of that region. As a result, they believe that their rights have been distorted or diluted, so now they are demanding ILP. Is this very clear? This is how it works. So it is always about your culture and livelihood. बस उतना याद रखो और उसको कहीं भी अप्लाई कर दो. दैट्स योर होम असाइनमेंट. जब जब कुछ भी पढ़ो, कोई भी इशू, उसको इसी लॉजिक से अप्लाई करने की कोशिश करना. यू विल नेवर फेल, ठीक है. और बाकी इस मीना को याद रखना, दैट इज मिजोरम, नागालैंड एंड अरुणाचल. ILP इज प्रोवाइडेड हियर, ठीक. चलो, कहाँ थे हम? ठीक है, चलो द नेक्स्ट लिखो, लास्ट, दैट इज पॉलिटिको एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव बेसिस. पॉलिटिको एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव बेस, politico-administrative base. Politics does not create regionalism. Politics does not create regionalism, but it accentuates regionalism. But it does not create, but बढ़ावा देता है. It accentuates regionalism. It takes advantage of the situation of regional discontent, it takes advantage of the situation of regional discontent and converts it in the favor of strengthening their support base and converts it in the favor of strengthening their support base and converts it in the favor of strengthening their support base. Is this very clear? एक इसमें geographical factor है. It is same to that integration of princely states, that people continue to nurse their loyalties to the old territories. ठीक है? So the geographical factor is after integration of princely states, people are still nursing their or professing their loyalties. After integration of princely states, people are professing their loyalties. People are professing their loyalties to the old territorial units. To the old territorial units. Next, give the heading forms of regionalism. Forms of regionalism. Forms of regionalism. What are different forms of regionalism? Absolutely. See, there are 4 types of regionalism or 4 forms in which the regionalism gets manifested. One is that you are demanding altogether a separate nation. That's one way. The second can be 2 states are fighting with each other. For example, wo interstate river water dispute, boundary dispute. So this is 2 states fighting with each other. The third is supra-state regionalism. For example, North Indian states versus South Indian states, or northeastern states versus mainland India. So that is supra-state regionalism. And fourth is sub-regionalism. Matlab within a state there is particular area which is demanding regionalism. So there are 4 forms of regionalism. Just write in points. 4 forms of regionalism. One is demand for separate nation. Second, supra-state regionalism. Third, interstate regionalism. And fourth is sub-regionalism. Clear है? ठीक है? See, just write down one question and then I'll discuss. Just write a question. Despite existing regional inequalities, feeling of regionalism, despite existing regional inequalities, feeling of regionalism is not so prominent in current scenario. Discuss. Despite existing regional inequalities, feeling of regionalism is not so prominent in current scenario. See, the basics of regionalism we have talked about, but there is no guarantee that directly you will be getting a question from what we have discussed. So based on that, you have to implement it while answering the question. This is one question I have given it to you. I don't expect you to write an answer, but at least come up with certain points that how you can structure this answer. I give you 2 minutes. Just think about how this question needs to be structured. What points needs to be addressed. And by the way, it depends whether you agree with it or not. I have given you a statement. If you don't agree with the statement, you can refute the statement. But just justify. Just give examples. So if you want to agree, good enough. If you don't want to agree, that's also fine. Okay? Just think about some points that how would you like to answer this particular question. हाँ बिल्कुल. You want to agree with the statement, you want to disagree with the statement. देखो, whenever you are एक चीज़ होती है आंसर राइटिंग से पहले कि you should have the clarity that what is your essence or theme of it. See, before answer writing or in general before essay writing or in any way you have to write your thought process, one thing there has to be a clarity. What is the theme? पॉइंट्स तो बाद में आते हैं, पहले तुम्हें ये क्लैरिटी होनी चाहिए कि तुम्हारी थीम क्या है उस पर्टिकुलर क्वेश्चन या टॉपिक को लेकर. देखो, अगर फैक्चुअल क्वेश्चन है, राइट डाउन द ऑब्जेक्टिव्स और राइट डाउन द पावर्स एंड फंक्शंस, उसमें कोई थीम की जरूरत नहीं है, यू एनीवेज नो. बट व्हेनेवर देयर इज अ क्वेश्चन व्हिच इज एनालिटिकल, व्हिच इज आस्किंग अबाउट द ओपिनियन, you should have the clarity in your mind that what is the theme of that particular question, whether you want to agree, you want to disagree, in what capacity you want to address that particular question, and then think about the points so as to justify. अगर थीम में क्लैरिटी नहीं होगी, you can never think about the points. So just be very sure that what is the basic theme of that particular question, and then think about the points. Automatically you would have a structured answer. कोई structure करने में कोई बहुत rocket science नहीं लगती है. थोड़ा सा बस एक, कल मैं किसी student से बात कर रही थी आप ही की क्लास में, and I said loud thinking is something which is required. कभी कभी होता है, देर इज वन पर्टिकुलर लैंग्वेज यू आर वेरी कंफर्टेबल विथ, वॉट एवर द लैंग्वेज इज, उसमें क्वेश्चन को इंटरप्रेट करके खुद से थोड़ा लाउड थिंकिंग करो कि वॉट एग्जैक्टली द क्वेश्चन इज डिमांडिंग एंड हाउ यू आर गोइंग टू अप्रोच दिस क्वेश्चन, वॉट इज द थीम ऑफ दिस क्वेश्चन अकॉर्डिंग टू यू. एक टॉपिक आपको मिल जाता है, वो थीम नहीं होती है, थीम आप खुद क्रिएट करते हो. आप उससे अग्री करोगे, डिसअग्री करोगे, उसे फेवर करोगे, अपोज करोगे, वो आपकी थीम है, आपको खुद चुननी है और उस थीम को अपने आंसर में जस्टिफाई करना है. एज सिंपल एज दैट. आप अपनी कोई भी बात अपने दोस्तों से करते हो, फिर दोस्त बोलते हैं अरे ऐसे कैसे तू बोल रहा है, फिर आप उसको फैक्ट्स देते हो ना कि नहीं देखो मैं इसलिए ऐसे ऐसे बोल रहा हूँ, वही आंसर है. एग्जामिनर बोलेगा ये कैसे लिख दिया इन्होंने, तो आप फैक्ट्स बताइए कि इस आधार पे मैंने अपना ये पॉइंट जस्टिफिकेशन दिया है. इट इज मोर ऑफ एन इंटरैक्टिव आंसर दैट यू हैव टू राइट. ठीक है. See, how would you like to address this question? Let's take overall discussion. The question is saying, despite existing regional equalities or inequalities, the feeling of regionalism is not so prominent in the current scenario. Do you agree or disagree? Agree. Yes. Regionalism is not very prominent. And especially it is not on the basis of regional inequality. हाँ, regionalism देखने को मिल रहा है, but it is more or less politically motivated. For example, Gorkhaland में the fear of Bengali being imposed as a language created a situation of unrest. Similarly, Karnataka वगैरह में it was more that Hindi was made mandatory in context of metros, national highways. So that has created the regional disruptions, but it was not on the basis of the regional inequality. So the point that the theme that you have taken is, in my opinion, it's fine, that despite regional inequality, the feeling of regionalism is not very prominent. Now give the reasons. You have picked up the theme and now justify the theme. So what is the reason? एक सेकेंड.
Fundamental rights given to the
हाँ,
people. There is no discrimination on the basis of region.
ठीक है.
And
Fine. The constitution or the fundamental rights. एक point ये हो गया. हाँ.
जो अभी रिसेंटली जो सोशल रिफॉर्म्स हैं वो यूनिवर्सल है, मतलब नो, जैसे राइट टू प्राइवेसी,
हाँ.
एलजीबीटी के जो वो हैं, और जो ट्रिपल तलाक का है वो एक स्पेसिफिक रीजन से रिलेटेड नहीं है, पर एक नेशन वाइड है.
नहीं. The point is not wrong, but in this answer it is not making relevance. But what he said is a very well said point: migration. You have, एक second, you have the scope of migration. So if your region is not developing, you can easily migrate to the other region to reap the benefit. And this is the most important point. The growing rate of migration to reap better socio-economic opportunities so as to ensure mobility. That's the most important point as far as this question is concerned. एक minute, we'll just answer.
पॉलिटिकल एस्पेक्ट होगा जो नेशनल पार्टीज है
हाँ.
उनका रीच बढ़ रहा है
हाँ.
हर एरिया में.
Absolutely, yes. The regional parties' political dominance is declining, and that is why they are not able to connect more with the regional aspirations as compared to the national aspirations. Very well said point. अब बोलो, एक सेकंड, थोड़ा सा जस्टिफाई करो क्या बोलना चाह रहे हो.
राइट टू प्राइवेसी का इशू है.
हाँ.
मतलब जो अगर सोसाइटी के सामने कोई कॉमन एनिमी
हाँ,
है या
हाँ.
कोई इशू है, तो वो अपने लोकल इंटरेस्ट की बजाय वो नेशन वाइड का देख रहे हैं. अब जैसे राइट टू प्राइवेसी है, उसमें ये ऐसा नहीं है कि हरियाणा वाले कुछ अपना सोच रहे हैं या वेस्ट बंगाल भी कुछ अपना, और उस मतलब जैसे कारगिल वॉर में.
नहीं, I got the point what you're trying to say. Kargil war makes more sense, but that was just one incident which has led to coming up of everyone together. But here, read the question. The exact question is saying, despite regional inequalities, two region are not same. यहाँ पे right to privacy या ट्रिपल तलाक वाला एग्जाम्पल सूटेबल नहीं है. इट इज गोइंग आउट ऑफ कॉन्टेक्स्ट. देखो, कभी कभी क्या होता है कि वो कहीं ना कहीं से तो लिंक कर ही दोगे, बट डायरेक्ट एग्जाम्पल्स लिखोगे या डायरेक्ट आर्ग्यूमेंट लिखोगे, उस पर मार्क्स ज्यादा मिलेंगे. जैसे पॉलिटिकल एस्पिरेशन है, माइग्रेशन है, दीज आर वेरी डायरेक्टली रिलेटेड पॉइंट्स. एक मिनट. हाँ. 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 Makes sense. ठीक है. Overall policies of the central government to promote cooperation between different regional governments and everything. Makes sense.
सोशल मीडिया और टेक्नोलॉजी
हाँ.
जो कल्चरल यूनिफिकेशन हुआ है,
हाँ, हाँ.
हाइपर कनेक्टिविटी,
हाँ.
तो जो डाइवर्सिटी कम हुई है, लिंग्विस्टिक डाइवर्सिटी, इंग्लिश एज ए लिंगुआ, मतलब लैंग्वेज.
Yes, the modernization which is happening due to different reason, matlab whatever the reason can be, it can be technology, it can be Western value system, because of which the connect with the traditional aspect is somewhat declining and a cosmopolitan culture is emerging, which is kind of connecting people together. So regional aspirations or regionalism is on dilution. Makes sense. Sports makes sense. That can be one of the reason that why people are getting connected. Any other thing?
You have said that reorganization of a state can't come in regional basis.
हाँ.
It has to be a garb of linguistic.
नहीं, रीजनल नहीं, मैंने कहा रिलीजियस और कास्ट नहीं हो सकता. रीजनल बेसिस पे तो होता ही है. रीऑर्गेनाइजेशन ऑफ स्टेट्स मोस्टली रीजनल बेसिस पे ही होता है. नहीं, दैट इज नॉट द पॉइंट. द पॉइंट हियर कैन बी, हाँ जी. हाँ. See, all the economic, very good. All the economic policies which have been taken for the economic development of the states would be written here. Whether it is Finance Commission or it was planning at some point of time, and Niti Aayog today talking about cooperative and competitive federalism. Then you can talk about special grants which are given to particular state for their development. So you can say all the policies of the government for the socio-economic upliftment of the states. Is that clear? Most important reason here is that, see, no two region can be equally developed. But there is a common understanding among the intellectual class that if a particular region is deprived, it is not because of the failure of the policies of the central government, it is more because of the failure of implementation by the state government. That is why they are not creating any kind of awareness among the masses with respect to that regional inequality. So that point can be written. There is an acknowledgement among the intellectual class, there is an acknowledgement among the intellectual class that roots of backwardness of some states lies in their socio-economic and political organization. Lies in their socio-economic and political organization. For example, lack of implementation of policies of the government, low level of social expenditure, lack of infrastructure, political and administrative failure, and son of soil policy. See, just one question. Migration is common in India, just one. Migration is common in India. Most of the states, people are migrating. Why son of soil policy is not prominent in every region? What makes, there are few particular pockets in India where son of soil policy is very prevalent. For example, Maharashtra, है ना, मराठा मानुष जो बात करते हैं, महाराष्ट्र for Maharashtrians. So why is it so that son of soil policy is prevalent in?
son of soil policy वहीं पे ज्यादा है जैसे महाराष्ट्र है. हाँ. महाराष्ट्र में रिसोर्सेज है. हाँ. बॉम्बे के फाइनेंशियल कैपिटल. ठीक है. वहाँ बिहार, उत्तर प्रदेश, यहाँ सारे वो आ रहे हैं. तो उनका इंटरेस्ट कॉन्फ्लिक्ट हो गया. वहाँ पे ज्यादा प्रमोट कर रहे हैं वो. अब जैसे बिहार है वो सन ऑफ सॉइल को प्रमोट नहीं करेंगे क्योंकि वहाँ तो वैसे स्कैर्सिटी ऑफ रिसोर्सेज है. क्यों चाहेंगे कि लोग हमारे यहाँ.
See, there are many other flourishing areas. For example, Punjab. During the period of Green Revolution, it has generated lot of resources and there was lot of in-migration which was happening. Despite that, son of soil policy never happened in context of Punjab, but it is happening in context of Maharashtra. Similarly, Delhi is also emerging as a hub for lot of people to work here, but you would not find son of soil policy in Delhi. Why is it so? Now give me the reason. There are a lot of magnets which have the culture of resource and people are flouting there. They are kind of migrating there, but not every region has a demand for son of soil policy.
Some small codes and historical relations with their glorious past kind of thing.
See, one of the reason can be glorious past, and to relate to that, the exact reason is son of soil policy develops only in those areas who do not have the culture of out-migration. There is so much of association with your land that you do not believe in आउट माइग्रेशन. यूपी बिहार में न होने का कारण यह किस मुंह से सन ऑफ सॉइल पॉलिसी कहेंगे, खुद दूसरों के स्टेट में जाके बसे हुए हैं. पंजाब किस मुंह से सन ऑफ सॉइल पॉलिसी कहेगा, खुद कनाडा में जाके बसा हुआ है. सो द पॉइंट हियर इज देयर आर फ्यू एरियाज हु हैव द लव फॉर देयर land. So they believe they are not out migrating, so no other person has a right to migrate to their land and kind of create competition for the scarce resources. One of the chief reason is this, and second chief reason is son of soil policy always emerges when there is a competition for middle class jobs. लेबर क्लास जॉब के लिए कभी सन ऑफ सॉइल पॉलिसी नहीं होती है. सन ऑफ सॉइल पॉलिसी हमेशा मिडिल क्लास जॉब्स के लिए होती है, एंड दैट इज वन ऑफ द रीजन व्हाई इन पंजाब, यूपी, बिहार देयर इज नो सन ऑफ सॉइल पॉलिसी, बिकॉज द इन माइग्रेशन इज हैपनिंग ऑफ द लेबर क्लास person for which nobody fights. The fight usually happens for middle class jobs. Is this very clear? And that is one of the chief reason why you are finding such kind of son of soil policy even in Bangalore. You are find there is a northeast exodus which happened. One of the reason was this, it was believed that they are creating competition or stress or strain on the existing resources. So this you have to take care. There are two main reasons. One, the culture of out-migration is not existing. And second, the competition is for middle-class jobs and not for the labor-class jobs. That is one of the chief reason why son of soil policy has emerged only in few areas. One more reason can be, that can be, ये लिख लो फिर बताती हूँ. The next reason can be rising aspirations of the people. तो जहां पे वेस्टर्नाइजेशन रीच कर गया है वहां पे इस तरह के deprivation ज्यादा होते हैं. Especially in context of Maharashtra. As he said, already Bombay was flourishing. It's a financial capital. So where the people were more in contact with the Western values. So there is rising aspirations among the people. And whenever you have the rising aspirations, you want better share in the resources. And whenever better share is not being given to you, there is a feeling of relative deprivation. And whenever there is a political party to fan those sentiments, it results into resentment. As simple. Same logic applies everywhere. थोड़ा से twist and turn के साथ. So the third point is rising aspirations due to westernization. Rising aspirations due to westernization. And last, failure of state government to accommodate the interest. Failure of state government to accommodate the interest. Failure of state government to accommodate the interest. Clear hai? ठीक है? Because one thing you always, we'll be doing migration in the next lecture. One thing is for sure, migration is bound to happen. You cannot control migration because constitutionally you have the right to migrate. You have the right to reside anywhere provided the special provisions have not been given. For example, ILP. There are certain tribal areas where you cannot migrate. So despite that, you have the right, constitutional, fundamental right to migrate anywhere. So migration is bound to happen. So instead of controlling migration, the state should develop its capacity to accommodate the migrant population and their interest. Automatically, these problems will come to an end. Is this very clear? So never give the solution that migration needs to be controlled. वो एक phenomena है जो आपके बस में नहीं है. So that can never be controlled. One thing can be done. Source region को भी develop करो कि लोग migrate ही ना करें और destination region को भी develop करो जिससे कि उनके interest को accommodate कर सको. Is this clear? ठीक है? Migration पे अभी चर्चा नहीं करेंगे वो हम next class में करेंगे. This was just an example. So the last thing just you write impact of regionalism. Impact of regionalism. That's the last topic. Impact of regionalism. Positive impact. Positive impact. Yes. Just write. Regionalism plays an important role. Regionalism plays an important role in nation building. Regionalism plays an important role in nation building if it accommodates the federal sentiments. If it accommodates the federal sentiments. If it accommodates the federal sentiments. Next, by accepting the demands, it gives the right of self-determination to the people. By accepting the demands, it gives the right of self-determination to the people. It acts as a linking pin. It acts as a linking pin. It acts as a linking pin between national interest, linking pin between national interest and regional aspirations which helps in keeping political extremism in diluted form. Clear hai? See, every regional area would have their own aspiration. So regionalism in fact acts as a linking pin. If you are not going to accommodate the interest of the regional or the different regions, there would be a chance or situation of political extremism. So if you want to reduce that kind of probability, it is always advisable to accommodate the regional aspirations. Is that clear? Next, likho negative impact. Negative impact. It can be seen as a threat. To development. It can be seen as a threat to development, progress, and unity of nation. It can be seen as a threat to development, progress, and unity of nation. It is a source of internal security challenges. It is a source of internal security challenges since often these demands have violent manifestations. It's a source of vote bank politics. It hinders the overall democratic governance. As regional demands interfere in overall national policy making. एक last लिख लो. Sometimes it also hinders international diplomacy. National or international diplomacy. And the most apt example which can be given is participation of India in Sri Lankan civil war during that time. It was the compulsion which was created by the Tamil government that India had to intervene in the Sri Lankan civil war, which was followed by assassination of Rajiv Gandhi. So international diplomacy also gets impacted due to the regional aspirations. Is this very clear? ठीक है? चलो. With this, an overall understanding of regionalism comes to an end. Just write down 1 or 2 questions which you can attempt as your home assignment. First, is regionalism a threat to national integration? Critically comment. Next, growing feeling of regionalism is important for the demand of separate state. Growing feeling of regionalism is important for the demand of separate state. Discuss. Or substantiate. This is UPSC question. Growing feeling of regionalism is important for the demand of separate state. Substantiate. कर लेंगे ये क्वेश्चन? एक लास्ट लिख लो. What are the bases of regionalism? What is the basis or what are the bases of regionalism? Full stop. Is unequal distribution of economic benefits the most important cause is the unequal distribution of economic benefits the most important cause for the rise of regionalism. Question mark. Substantiate your answer with examples. Clear है? ठीक है? Next we are starting with ethnic diversity and related problem is ethno-nationalism. ठीक है? Break. 10 minutes break. There is one group. See, ethnic group is basically a set of which whatever we have studied so far was a subset. For example, any socially defined group which is sufficiently united with each other on the basis of common culture, ancestors, or historical experiences is referred as a ethnic group. And since they have a sufficient unitedness, means they have a consciousness. And just few minutes back we discussed how consciousness leads to the development of identity. So there is a development of ethnic identity. And see, whenever there is a development of identity, means based on that identity, there is differential access to resources. We did discuss caste-based identity, Brahmins or Shudra, gender-based identity, male or female. So based on your identity, you have differential access to resources. And whenever there is differential access to resources, that means there is Stratification. यही हमने किया था. What is stratification? Based on your identity, you have differential access to resources, socio, political, economic, whatever it is. So ethnic stratification. Whenever your society is stratified, there would be a feeling of antagonism between different layers, because some is getting better access to resources as compared to others. So there would be a feeling of ethnic antagonism. ठीक है. Now, when there would be someone who would make them realize, there would be an emergence of self-conscious political entity, and they'll start asserting their rights, and that is nothing but ethno-nationalism. Is that clear? एक मिनट रुको बस. Ethno word हटा देते हैं. Linguistic nationalism, regional nationalism, religious nationalism, everything fits here. So ethnicity is a set of which whatever we have studied so far was a subset. तो घूम फिर के कहानी यहीं आती है, एथनो नेशनलिज्म. सो इट्स नॉट समथिंग विच इज़ वेरी आउट ऑफ द बॉक्स. वॉट एवर यू हैव स्टडीड, तो कभी कभी क्या होता है, लिंग्विस्टिक नेशनलिज्म, दैट इज नथिंग बट द प्रॉब्लम्स क्रिएटेड ड्यू टू लिंग्विस्टिक डाइवर्सिटी. सिमिलरली रिलीजियस nationalism, that is more because on the basis of religion you are trying to assert your identity. Is that clear? And when it is on the basis of love for the nation, that is patriotic nationalism, which is very different from this. Is this clear? Nationalism means sense of oneness. That's it. Sense of belongingness. And the belongingness can be based on anything. It can be based on your ethnicity, your religion, your region, your language. Is this very clear? So this is ethno-nationalism. एक एग्जाम्पल देखिए, हम इसे समझते हैं दैट हाउ द कैटेगरी फॉल्स. लेट्स टेक अप एग्जाम्पल ऑफ श्रीलंका. श्रीलंका में देर आर दो बेसिक एथनिक ग्रुप्स, तमिलियंस एंड सिन्हलीज. ठीक है. Now see, let's take the example, the same chart we are going to apply in context of Sri Lanka. Okay? And there are two ethnic groups, Tamil and Sinhalese. Okay? See, based on these two ethnic groups, they are sufficiently united and they have different kind of ethnic identity. Now, when Sri Lanka got independence, there was an act which was passed, and the name of the act was Ceylon Citizenship Act. You don't have to write, just try to understand that I am just trying to apply Citizenship Act. Now see, what happened was, when this act was passed in 1948, it has deprived all the Tamilians from their citizenship right in Sri Lanka. That means, based on the ethnic identity, you have differential access to resources. The second thing that they immediately passed after this Ceylon citizenship was policy of standardization. See, this is just an example that a next thing was passed and the name was policy of standardization. What it meant was that in every university, when you take the admission, it would be on the basis of the number of the people who are applying. For example, in our country, it is not on the basis of the strength. It is on the basis of who are minorities, and accordingly they would be given reservation benefit. But what Sri Lankan government did was, the reservation benefits were given to the majority group rather than to the minority group. For example, if there are 100 people who are applying for the university position, 60 are Sinhalese and 40 are Tamilians. And suppose karo there are 10 seats in the university, so 6 would be reserved for Sinhali and 4 would be reserved for Tamilians. So reservation benefit was going to the majority group rather than to the minority group. So based on your identity, there was differential access to resources. That means there was an ethnic stratification where Sinhalese were better placed as compared to the Tamilians. So definitely there was a feeling of ethnic antagonism. फिर कोई आ गए थे वहाँ पे जिनका नाम था प्रभाकरन. The third party, that is Liberation Tiger of Tamil Elam. As a result, they emerged as a self-conscious political entity. And finally, 1980s, ethno-nationalism, Sri Lankan Civil War. This applies everywhere. Is this very clear? This is how the debate starts. Based on your identity, you have differential access to resources, leading to stratification in the society, based on which there is a feeling of antagonism. And when there is someone who makes you self-conscious political entity, then there is a feeling of ethno-nationalism. Is this clear? Write down a question. Actually, इस क्वेश्चन को आंसर कराना था, इसलिए इतनी पढ़ाई करी, नहीं तो एथनो नेशनलिज्म बिना पढ़ाई भी चल जाता. क्वेश्चन इज इंपॉर्टेंट, राइट? लिंग्विस्टिक रीजनल आइडेंटिटीज, linguistic, regional identities rather than religious have been the basis of ethno-nationalism in context of India. Have been the basis of ethno-nationalism in context of India. I'll again repeat, linguistic, regional identities rather than religious has been the basis of formation of ethno-nationalism in context of India. Is that clear? That means religion has not been the major base. It has been only two examples, that is Kashmir as well as Punjab. But there also the religious demands have been presented in the garb of linguistic and regional demands. Is that clear? So in that capacity, with examples, you have to answer the question, and this is the assignment question. This is the assignment question, and please write the answer, it's important. ठीक? चलो. क्या? Keyword क्या है? क्या question क्या एक बार फिर से? Linguistic, कुछ भी लिख लो. Critically discuss. डिस्कस ही तो करना है यार, विद सब्सटैंशिएशन. तो क्रिटिकली डिस्कस कर लो, मतलब इन डेप्थ डिस्कशन करना है इस क्वेश्चन पे. चलो, द लास्ट टॉपिक लेते हैं, रेशियल इंटॉलरेंस. रेशियल इंटॉलरेंस. रेशियल इंटॉलरेंस.
Isn't it case of Kashmir also have a hint of linguistic, regional and other, and it is a communal state was given later on, I guess. It was primarily a more regionalistic, regionalism inspired.
Kashmir issue right from day one has been the religious issue. It is the bone of contention between India and Pakistan, and both the nations has been created on the grounds of two nation theory, that is two different religious countries cannot be one. So primarily it has to be on the basis of religious demand. However, later on, when Kashmir, our constitution has incorporated Kashmir as a part of India, post that it has become economic underdeveloped issue. That underdevelopment which has led there in Jammu and Kashmir has led to the feeling of resentment among the people. But primarily it is a religious issue. You cannot deny the fact. Yes, absolutely. Because see, India, Pakistan में war हुई क्यों थी? कश्मीर को लेकर हुई थी because they believe Kashmir belongs to them because it's a Muslim majority area. That's what, मतलब simple as that. हम कश्मीर को बहुत आराम से पढ़ेंगे उसका. यार एक सिंपल सी बात है. चलो एक ऐसी आप ही की बात को आंसर करते हुए बता देती हूँ. Sardar Patel was never in the favor that Kashmir should be the part of India because he believed that it's a Muslim majority area which should go to Pakistan. But at the same time, Junagadh was one area which was Hindi majority area which was governed by a Muslim ruler, Nawab Mahabat Khan. So he believed that Junagadh belongs to India whereas Kashmir should belong to Pakistan. Independence had already taken place, but there was no decisive reason that who would take these princely states because there were three princely states who did not integrated with India at the time of independence: Kashmir, Hyderabad and Junagadh. So on 13th of September 1947, when Nawab Mahabat Khan had already declared that we would prefer to accede to Pakistan, and Pakistan agreed to their accession on 13th of September, that was the day when for the very first time Sardar Patel said कि अगर पाकिस्तान जूनागढ़ का एक्सेशन एक्सेप्ट कर सकता है तो अब सरदार को कोई नहीं रोकेगा कश्मीर को इंडिया में इंटीग्रेट करने से. दैट वाज फॉर द वेरी फर्स्ट टाइम सरदार पटेल सेड दैट कश्मीर शुड बिलोंग टू इंडिया, बिकॉज प्रायर टू दैट सरदार पटेल वाज नॉट इन द फेवर दैट कश्मीर शुड बिलोंग टू इंडिया, बिकॉज ही opined that Kashmir is a Muslim majority area which should go to Pakistan. So Kashmir was a religious issue during that time. However, later it became the issue of economic underdevelopment and the the violence which has been taken place by the army and everything. So that had become the issue. But primarily it was a religious issue. Is that clear? हम कहाँ थे? Racial intolerance. Let's define race. Just right. Race is defined as a group of people. Race is defined as a group of people with distinctive physical characteristics, such as skin color, features, texture of hair, etc. Features, texture of hair, etc. According to a recent survey, India and Jordan are least racially tolerant nations. तो जो इंडिया दुहाई देता है ना कि हमारे अगेंस्ट रेशियल वायलेंस हो रहा है पूरे वर्ल्ड में, इंडिया इज इटसेल्फ racially least tolerant nation according to the survey conducted. ठीक है? So in that context, it is important for us to understand that what is the basis for racial intolerance and what should be done to do away with the menace of racial intolerance. See, there has been incidences in recent times when the students, basically the African nationals, have been attacked. And see, the question of apathy, I'll just discuss one incident. There was a hit and run case happened in Bangalore in which some Sudanese students were involved. However, later it was found that certain mob had attacked a Tanzanian student. There was a girl and a boy, and they were brutally attacked. So when those two students went to the police station to file a report, the police officer said कि तुम सब एक जैसे दिखते हो, या तो उस इंसान को पकड़ के लाओ जो हिट एंड रन केस में इन्वॉल्व था, नहीं तो मैं तुम्हारे खिलाफ ही केस बना दूंगा. So that is the apathy of the police administration towards these African nationals. Now, it is not about just the racial intolerance. By attacking these African nationals, there is lot at stake for India. See, India and Africa always have the historical relations. Both were the colonies, so they have a history of decolonization and development. First. Second, Africa is a very resource-rich country at a current time. So India cannot afford to dilute the bilateral relations with Africa. Third, these African national students creates the business of education in context of India and also tourism. So it is impacting the economic state of your country. And this racial intolerance is not only limited to the African nationals, it is also witnessed against the northeastern people. So it is also kind of negatively impacting the social harmony of your society. See, northeasterns anyways consider themselves to be very different from the mainland India. There has been various ethnic secessionist movement which has happened in northeastern states because they believe that culturally they don't belong to India. And moreover, such incidences of racial intolerance against them is further aggravating the cultural gap which is existing between mainland India and the northeastern people. So in this backdrop, it is very important for us to address the problem of racial intolerance. Is this very clear? So it is impacting your social cohesion. It is impacting your harmony. It is impacting the status of India in global politics. You want to emerge as a global power? How can you even think of emerging as a global power when there are incidences of racial intolerance? And more importantly, it is also kind of negatively impacting the potential of India as a destination or a desirable destination for both business and education. So in all these capacity, racial intolerance is negatively impacting your country. So you have to come up with a solution to solve the problem of racial intolerance. Is that clear? So just write down the causes of racial intolerance in India. Causes of racial intolerance in India. What are the possible causes for racial intolerance in India? Why are we so racially intolerant? Because of our past, as in? ऐसा नहीं है. The racial intolerance is only happening against Africans. We have too much of fixation with the fair complexion. That's a fact. We have too much of fixation with the fair complexion, and that is more because of our past. Because we always believe that the Britain culture or the white culture is more dominating and it has the hegemony over us. That's a fact. So you can write. One of the reason is Indian society displays skin color based discrimination. Indian society displays skin color based discrimination due to its obsession with white skin. Due to its obsession with white skin. Anything else? Can we say lack of cultural integration? There is a certain perception among the local population about the culture of the African nationals or the culture of the northeastern people. So there is a kind of a cultural lag or a gap which exists between different communities. So you can write, the next is, there is a perception that African nationals are lawless. There is a perception that African nationals are lawless and lack of awareness with respect to their culture further creates the apprehensions. Third point, see, what happens is that, remember once we have done a concept ghettoization, that you form your own group. Now see, what happens, these are the African nationals. Now since we have a certain perception towards them, the attack is happening more common. There are different names which have been called out to these people. Okay. As a result, they use a tactic to survive, and that tactic is invisibility. They form their own ghettos so that they don't come in contact with the mainstream people, because there is a fear. The more they are visible, the more they are coming in contact, the more they would be attacked or abused. So now they are using a tactic to survive. See, they have to come to India to study because education is cheap as compared to other areas, and because of more exchange between India and African governments, it is easy for them to get the visa and to apply here. So they have basically no choice. And now in order to survive here, they have to use a tactic so that they have not been abused. So now they are using a tactic of invisibility. They are forming their own ghettos. Now see, when you form your own ghettos, that means you are further getting culturally alienated, and further it is creating the apprehension among the mainstream people, which is resulting into further attacks. So it's a vicious cycle. Attack leading to ghettoization, ghettoization leading to further attacks. So then, last point, just write. Africans, in order to survive, live in closed communities using the tactics of invisibility. Live in closed communities using the tactics of invisibility. It further minimizes the interaction. With the mainstream society. It further minimizes the interaction with the mainstream society and creates a vicious cycle of attacks and abuses. Vicious cycle of attacks and abuses. Clear है? ठीक है? So what should be done to address the problem of racial intolerance? What should be done about it? There is a committee which was specifically established for it, and the name of the committee was Base Barua Committee. So we would be writing the few points of the committee as a suggestion. See, sometimes it happens that you are not being asked the suggestion of a particular committee. So in that situation, बहुत आसान तरीका होता है उनके suggestions को अपने suggestions बना के आंसर में लिख दो. वो गलत तो होंगे नहीं, उन्होंने इतना काम किया ही है, तो मतलब so it is always advisable that you write their suggestions, उनका नाम मत लिखो. Why give them the credit? Examiner को ये apprehension रहने दो कि this is your ideas. So Base Barua Committee, way forward. Base Barua Committee. Base Barua Committee. Just write. First, new stringent laws which are cognizable and non-bailable are required. New stringent laws which are cognizable and non-bailable are required. Next, fast-track courts and special police squad needs to be created. Fast-track courts and special police squad needs to be created for quick disposal of cases. Active use of social media needs to be promoted to increase the outreach. Active use of social media needs to be promoted to increase the outreach. Next, legal awareness campaign needs to be carried out. To make people aware about their rights. Make people aware about their rights. Next, judicial intervention in the education system. To promote cultural integration. वो student exchange programs होते हैं, that needs to be promoted. Different cultures needs to be accommodated in your educational curriculum so that people are aware of it. अब जैसे नॉर्थ ईस्टर्न्स हैं, उनके बारे में या तो छोटे में हम जब स्टेट्स और कैपिटल्स याद करते हैं तब हमें पता होता है, और नेक्स्ट टाइम जब हम यूपीएससी की तैयारी के लिए आते हैं तब हमें पता होता है. उसके अलावा हमें याद भी नहीं होता वो बीच के सालों में कि कितने नॉर्थ ईस्टर्न स्टेट्स हैं और उनकी क्या कैपिटल है और क्या स्टेटस है. सो दिस इज द आयरनी ऑफ योर सोसाइटी. तो दिल्ली यूनिवर्सिटी हैज स्टार्टेड अ प्रोग्राम नोन एज ज्ञानोदय. That is a cultural exchange program. Every year, there would be certain students who would be sent for a tour to northeastern states so that they become well versed with the culture of the northeastern people. So this is how it should be done. Cultural integration needs to be promoted. We need to be made aware about their rights. Then bonding over sports can also be used for better cultural integration. I think one of the students said that point also. Bonding over sports. देखो अब आपने भी कहा और बेस बरुआ ने भी कहा, तो सिमिलर पॉइंट्स होते हैं, बस नाम लिखने से क्रेडिबिलिटी मिल जाती है. दैट्स द ओनली थिंग. सो बॉन्डिंग ओवर स्पोर्ट्स. नाउ राइट सम मिसलेनियस सजेशंस. Miscellaneous suggestions. See, this is not just a suggestion, it happened. Recently what happened in Delhi, the South Delhi area is maximally occupied by the African nationals. So what they have started doing, the local population, the neighborhood committees to be very precise, now they are conducting workshops so that there is an exchange of thoughts and culture with the African nationals as well as the local population so that they become well versed with each other's living standards. Okay? So the next suggestion can be holding workshops by police and government to sensitize people, holding workshops by police and government to sensitize people. Second, sensitization programs should be carried out to reduce the obsession with a particular race. Sensitization programs should be carried out to reduce the obsession with a particular race. Next, police should be prepared and given proper guidelines to prevent racial attacks. Police should be prepared and given proper guidelines to prevent racial attacks. Confidence building measures should be taken. Next point. Confidence building measures should be taken to assure people about their security and well-being. About their security and well-being. Clear है? ठीक है? So this is with respect to how racial intolerance needs to be addressed. ठीक? The last topic as far as diversity is concerned is unity in diversity. So let's end the topic then. Unity in diversity. That's the last topic as far as diversity is concerned. Unity in diversity. Makes sense. Yes, you can do that. The active participation or the role of embassies can also be enhanced. Okay? This is unity in diversity, this is diversity in unity. तो जब आंसर लिखने को हो तो थोड़ा सा इसको दिमाग में रखना, आंसर अच्छा बन जाएगा. इसको मत बना देना, ठीक है? ये दिमाग में रखना. So this is unity in diversity and this is diversity in unity. So let's start with unity in diversity. See, if you remember, we did discuss about that diversity means collective differences. So what is unity then? See, unity means that you have a sense of belongingness, sense of oneness. And unity does not mean only it is on the basis of uniformity. See, there are two people. They can be united because they have certain similarity. they have similar culture, they have similar language. So that can be one of the source of unity, that is on the basis of uniformity or similarity. But there is one more way of unity, and that is interdependence. Sometimes you are united not because you are similar, it is more because you are interdependent on each other. And that's a difference between a traditional society and a modern society. In traditional societies, people were united more because they were uniform and similar. In modern society, they are united more because they are interdependent on each other. So keeping these two things in mind, we would be discussing what are the examples of unity in diversity. Okay? So just write. Unity means integration. Unity means integration. It connotes a sense of oneness. It connotes a sense of oneness. Connotes the sense of oneness. It stands for the bonds. It stands for the bonds which holds the member of societies, which hold the members of a society together. It stands for the bonds which hold the members of a society together. It can either be on the basis of uniformity, it can either be on the basis of uniformity or on the basis of interdependence, or on the basis of interdependence. Give the heading, Examples of Unity in Diversity in India. Examples of unity in diversity in India. Examples of unity in diversity in India. The first is geopolitical unity. Geopolitical unity. Geopolitical unity. See, what is geopolitical unity means that geographically India is spread from Himalayas till you have both the oceans or the seas on the peninsular side. But within that geographical spread, politically we stand united, because politically we are governed by the same constitution, we have same citizenship, and the political culture also remains the same: democracy, secularism and socialism. So this calls for unity in diversity in the geopolitical framework. So write down, the first bond of unity, the first bond of unity is found in its geopolitical integration, is found in its geopolitical integration, where amidst the geographical spread, where amidst the geographical spread, politically we stand united. Politically we stand united. Politically we stand united. Since we share the same political culture, since we share the same political culture, governed by, since we share the same political culture governed by democracy, secularism and socialism. Secularism and socialism. Next डालो geocultural unity. Geocultural unity. Second is geocultural unity. Geocultural unity is nothing but the temple culture. North, south, east, west. One thing which unites all of us is the temple culture. हरिद्वार से लेकर रामेश्वरम तक और द्वारका से लेकर पुरी तक. वन थिंग विच इज कॉमन, और ये आपको पता चलेगा जब रिजल्ट आने वाला होगा, चाहे वो अजमेर शरीफ की दरगाह हो या फिर कितना आप रिलीजियसली, आपको पता चलेगा आप सेक्युलर हैं, कोई भगवान कोई मंदिर कुछ नहीं छोड़ेंगे. फिर वो जितना भी रिलीजियस डिफरेंसेस हैं वो तुरंत खत्म हो जाते हैं जिस दिन लिस्ट में नाम आने की बात आती है, क्योंकि तब लगता है कि कुछ भी कहीं रह ना जाए, गलती से कोई भगवान बुरा ना मान जाए. तो दैट इज टेम्पल कल्चर. दिस इज वन यूनाइटिंग फीचर ऑफ आवर सोसाइटी. इररिस्पेक्टिव ऑफ योर रीजन, irrespective of your religion, you visit different temples. This is an example of geo-cultural unity. ये बना लो, लिख लेते हैं थोड़ा, फिर बना लेना. लिखो, another source of unity, another source of unity lies in what is known as, another source of unity lies in what is known as temple culture. Temple culture. It plays a significant part. It plays a significant part in promoting interaction, and cultural affinity, in promoting interaction and cultural affinity among people living in different parts of India. Among people living in different parts of India. Among people living in different parts of India. Clear hai? ठीक है? So within geographical factors you have two things, geopolitical and geo-cultural. Next, give the heading cultural example. Cultural example. Cultural example. The first we are taking is religion. Cultural example. First is religion. See, one thing we know, religiously we are diverse, inter also and intra-religiously. Let's take one example of each. Suppose, let me take an example of Hinduism. So Hinduism is one religion. Among this there are different diversity, sect, cult, everything. But despite that, there is a unifying thread. And unifying thread is the teaching of the scriptures. Rig, Ved, whatever it is. So basically, Vedas, Upanishads, Rig Ved is just one example of that. So what I meant to say here is that you have certain scriptures which kind of unite amidst the diversity which exists within a religion. So within one religion, it is the teaching of the scriptures which acts as a uniting factor. Similarly, let us take two religions. Okay? You have Hinduism, Islam, or let us also take Christianity. Everywhere, these are three diverse religions, but one thing is common, that is temple culture. You are going to, मतलब जिसका जो भी श्राइन है, people visit that, चाहे वो गुरुद्वारा हो, चाहे वो चर्च हो, चाहे वो मॉस्क हो, चाहे वो टेम्पल हो, because there is one common thread which provides uniting feature and that is earning religious merit. हम क्यों जाते हैं मंदिर? या तो कुछ मांगने जाते हैं या पुण्य कमाने जाते हैं. तो वैसे ही लोग बाकी जगह भी जाते हैं, गुरुद्वारा भी लोग इसीलिए जाते हैं. So there is a common culture that is earning religious merit, मोक्ष प्राप्ति के लिए. लोगों के तरीके अलग हो सकते हैं, but salvation is the common objective of all the religion. The method can be different. So amidst the diversity with respect to the religion, there is a uniting thread, and that is earning religious merit through temple culture. Is that very clear? So just write down the example. Within Hinduism, diversity exists. Within Hinduism, diversity exists with respect to sects. Within Hinduism, diversity exists with respect to sects, cults, mode of worship, sect, cult, mode of worship, etc. But it's the teaching of religious scriptures. Which binds them together. But it's the teaching of religious scriptures which binds them together. Similarly, within the temple culture, the unifying factor within the temple culture, the unifying factor is a common goal. Unifying factor is a common goal of earning religious merit. Within the temple culture, the unifying factor is a common goal of earning religious merit. ठीक है? Next heading डालो, regional. Let us take an example. This is one particular region. ठीक है? Obviously, if this is a particular region, it would have a common language in general or a common culture. But within that, let me divide the society Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. So this is a diverse society. It is stratified. But amidst that, there is a vertical unifying thread, and that is on the basis of language. So there is a vertical unity within a particular region which is given by language. Similarly, if I talk about two different regions, then despite these two regions are diverse, the Brahmins would have something in common. Similarly, Kshatriyas would have something in common. That means there is a horizontal bond of unity that can be there. So within a region, among the diversity on the basis of caste, the unifying thread is language, and between two diverse regions, the unifying thread is the horizontal bond, which can be on the basis of religion, it can be on the basis of caste, or it can be on the basis of culture. Is this very clear? Make sense? So this is the example of vertical unity, and this is the example of horizontal unity, which is based on the regional factors. So just make this thing, just write. In a linguistic area, there exists a vertical unity. In a linguistic area, there exists a vertical unity cutting across various levels of caste. Cutting across various levels of caste. Similarly, caste represents horizontal unity. Similarly, caste represents horizontal unity cutting across linguistic areas. Similarly, caste represent horizontal unity cutting across linguistic areas. Clear hai? Now, can you come up with few miscellaneous examples of contemporary times? क्या मैच क्या? अच्छा cricket match. Okay, cricket basically. हाँ.
Monsoon.
Makes sense? Yes. There can be any example that you can write. See, these are the broad categorization in regional, cultural and geographical factor. You can come up with examples like modern education, technology, transport and communication, cinema, sports. They are nothing but the examples of unity in diversity. So just for your reference, write few miscellaneous examples. Few miscellaneous examples such as modern education, social media, network of transport and communication, network of transport and communication, industrialization, urbanization, sports, architecture also acts as unity in diversity. Music also acts as an example of unity in diversity. For example, your dance forms. There are different dance forms like Bharatnatyam, Kathakali. They have certain common connects. For example, in most of these dance forms, Lord Krishna is seen as a source of inspiration. So that is unity in diversity. Diversity is diverse dance forms, and within that there is a unifying thread that is common source of inspiration, for example Lord Krishna. So that can also be an example. Just one advice, in case the question says illustrate and elucidate, remember the difference. Illustrate, you can just quote the example, okay? But in elucidate you need to clearly define what is the diversifying force and what is the uniting thread. Is that very clear? Okay? So the next thing is diversity in unity. Diversity in unity. Diversity in unity, right? It refers to existence of plural, refers to existence of plural ethnic, racial, religious and linguistic cultures within the nation of India. Within the nation of India. Examples. What are the examples of diversity in unity? Remember this diagram, diversity in unity. इसी को सोच के examples बताओ current life से. That there is one thread within which there has to be diversities. वो एग्जाम्पल मत देना जो हमने यूनिटी इन डाइवर्सिटी में लिखा है, पता चला उसे पलट के दे दिया कि हिंदुइज्म हो गया ये और उसमें सेक्ट्स और कल्ट्स विल बी द एग्जाम्पल ऑफ डाइवर्सिटी इन यूनिटी. ये एग्जाम्पल मैंने दे दिया, चांस गया. अब अपना बताओ. फेस्टिवल्स, यस, makes sense. See, one of the example can be that you have a common national festival, but the manner it is celebrated at the local or the regional level is an example of diversity in unity. So one of the example can be festivals. What else? Food. Yes, bilkul. The food, the cuisine can also be the example of diversity in unity. Anything else? Dressing style. Fine, makes sense. Dressing style can also be the example. Anything else? Cricket. Diversity in unity. Everybody doesn't watch the game for the love of the game. कोई पैसे कमाने के लिए भी करता है ना, बैटिंग कर रखी है गेम पर, और कोई फॉर द लव ऑफ द क्रिकेटर. अब कोई विराट कोहली या धोनी के लिए भी देख सकता है मैच. तो सबके अपने अपने खुद के एजेंडाज होते हैं. सो देयर कैन बी डाइवर्सिटी इन यूनिटी, दैट यू आर वॉचिंग मैच बट देयर कैन बी डिफरेंट रीजंस, द डाइवर्स रीजन फॉर वॉचिंग मैच. कोई ऐसा भी तो हो सकता है ना, किसी का इंडिया पाकिस्तान सिस्टम चल रहा है, वो अपने अलग ही पेट्रियोटिक फीलिंग से मैच देख रहे हैं. तो सबका अपना अपना रीजन हो सकता है, और सबसे कॉमन रीजन तो आजकल बेटिंग है. मतलब आईपीएल इज सोर्स ऑफ अर्निंग इनकम. तो मतलब इसीलिए तो दैट इज, मैं आइडियाज नहीं दे रही हूँ, मैं एक बात बता रही हूँ. पता चला पढ़ाई लिखाई छोड़ के बैटिंग शुरू कर दी, नहीं वो मत करना. बट केयर पॉइंट हियर इज डाइवर्सिटी इन यूनिटी. यू कैन हैव मल्टीपल एग्जांपल्स. देन यू ऑल्सो हैव एन एग्जांपल ऑफ कॉर्पोरेट कल्चर which is emerging. MNC culture, that's a unifying thread, and within the MNC culture you have different cultures which are existing. Similarly, patriarchy is a common thread, but within that Brahmanical patriarchy different from tribal, different from Dalit. So it is nothing but diversity in unity. See, in such topics there is nothing to study per se. It is all about the examples that you have to give. So the more you come up with the examples, the more you will fetch marks. So the question or the assignment for you is, give examples of diversity in unity from the contemporary scenario. Give examples of diversity in unity from contemporary scenario. You have to give around 8 to 9 examples and try to be as creative as possible, because there are chances that you would get a question on this, and that time you would not have time to think about the innovative examples. So that's the assignment for you. So with this, the diversity topic, communalism, regionalism comes to an end. Next class, first half of the class would be on secularism, and then I'll be starting with population and associated issues. Most probably next class we'll be taking up secularism and migration. ठीक है?